Hey, everybody. It has been a while. It has been quite some time since I did a live stream all on my lonesome. I think it's been since before the Kickstarter. So, welcome in. Glad you could make it. If there's an audio issue, let me know. I did as much setup as I could remember, and hopefully it sounds good. But yeah, we are here today to discuss next steps after the SAGAS Kickstarter, because it's funded. We did it. We raised almost $10,000 to make our game as pretty as possible, and I could not be happier. It's so exciting for me. This is huge. What started as just a tiny little, idea in the back of my head during the OGL crisis of January last year has turned into this, has turned into something that spiraled quickly out of control and has become my largest ever project that I've been working on for over a year now. So I'm excited to give you as much as I can in this stream. It won't be everything. We're still going through a bunch of stuff. Awesome. Thanks for letting me know, Fred. Yeah, so if you have any questions, just toss them in chat at any time. Please, if you can, if you want me to notice it, more likely that I'm going to be noticing it, if you put all caps question in front of your chat if you have a question that you actually want me to answer. So it'll, catch my eye on this corner of the screen over here. So, couple things. First and foremost, thank you so much to everyone that was able to back, to everyone that has been pushing this on social media and in their own communities. It literally would not have happened without all of that. That would have been impossible. So I am very, very thankful to all of you that were able to hop onto this train. As you saw in the Kickstarter, our estimated delivery for backers is going to be September. That is when we will have the, we have to do the interior art, we have to do the layout, we have to do the final edit on the rules. We got a lot of stuff that still needs to happen. The rules are basically done. We just got a couple more edits. I'm gonna have a meeting with Andrew, the editor, pretty soon here to go over, last things before we can let Kedhup, our layout designer, off to the races, because he's been very excited for a very long time to actually get started working on this. So I'm very excited for that next step. Delivery for physical copies and for general public. And to clarify, by physical copies, I mean it will be available for print on demand through Drive-Thru RPG. That is estimated for sometime between November of 2024 and January of 2025. That is our target. That is very much subject to change. Most of the things, unfortunately, I'm going to say here today are going to be subject to change. We have yet to have a full team meeting since funding. That is happening tomorrow morning. So after that, we'll have an email out with all the solidified updates, giving you as much information as we possibly can on what the next steps are and what you can expect. So there, like I said, there's a couple edits that still have to be done. Mostly one of them is going to be to make it easier and simpler to remember what you're able to do in combat. It's already a very simple rule set, but we wanted to make it, to tone it down even more and make it even easier. Use less of your brain to focus on the rules and more of it to focus on the story you're telling. We're also updating a couple of weird physics things with specifically fall damage, because right now if you drop an ant, if you're an ant and you drop from 10 feet up, you'll die when you hit the ground. That's not how physics works. So we're gonna go in and fix that too. Question from our lovely and wonderful project manager, Angie, how to feel starting work knowing your project funded. So starting actually getting back into and get my teeth back into the rules and into the meat of that is this system is the thing I was looking forward to the most, because I learned that marketing is not really my thing. I don't like doing it, but we succeeded, and there's going to be less of that going forward. It took a lot out of me, and I'm glad it's over, and I'm very thankful that we did fund. But so I'm very, very excited to get back into the actual rules. Today, literally earlier today, I made a one-pager for optional rules to use if you are playing in the universe of Jujutsu Kaisen, the anime, because we're going to be doing a one-shot for that in a couple weeks with Just the Human. And I'm very, very excited to have that put together and done. And I think I'm going to be, that was very easy for me to do, so I think I'm going to be pumping out a lot of those like free community made, even though I'm the creator, I'm still part of the community. Community made one page like settings for well-known intellectual properties, like certain anime shows, maybe Marvel, maybe some I don't know. I've been watching a lot of anime recently, so that's what most of the ones floating around in my head are. But we'll have a lot of one-page optional rules to play in those specific settings. So it'll tweak the rules a little bit, make it more like the actual world that is that you'll be playing in. So keep your eyes out for those. Those will be posted. I'm not sure where yet. Probably for free on my Patreon, but we'll see. Did notice a few errors in the quick guide and repetitive abilities. We will be going over with a fine-tooth comb to get all of those last snags out before we start the layout design and everything. We're not going to get all of them, I'm sure, because we are, the people that are going to be doing this are three dudes, or three people, not all dudes, sorry. But we will be making sure those details are as ironed out as possible, making as few mistakes as we possibly can. And it's not going to be that difficult. It's not that long of a book. It's like 50 pages tops. So I think that'll be pretty easy for us to get through. I got ideas for how you can use those. Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk, Angie. Couple other updates for this. We will be looking into, I'll preface first. There were a lot, like over a dozen stretch goals that never even got revealed, okay? Most of them were just like little things that were stepping stones to bigger goals, like a long supplement with a guest writer that would cost us thousands of dollars to make. A lot of those little steps, though, were things that we really wanted to do anyway that are only going to cost us time and not actually money. So there's going to be a lot of those that we actually get through. So we are considering doing those those anime optional rules, like the horror optional rules that got unlocked before the Kickstarter. We are considering doing actual handout quick rules reference cards. That was the first stretch goal that we didn't get to. We were like a couple $100s away, and I say close enough. We can do that. All right, talk to you later, Angie. There's going to be virtual tabletop integration. We started looking into that, into a more than just like a character sheet available in Roll20 and Foundry, because both of those are already there. We want to put in the actual rules and the automatic dice rolling and some of the monsters even. We are looking into, yes, exactly. virtual tabletop integrations, exactly what I was getting into. So I actually, one of my friends that I met, who is not connected with the project, but has been very supportive the whole way, has started with a company that does exactly that. So I will have a connection. I'm going to be talking with him and making sure that, you know, we are doing this the best way we possibly can. No promises on whether or not it happens, because I still don't know how much that will cost to get someone to do that for us. I'm not a coder, so I won't be able to do it that easily, but we are definitely looking into it because a lot of people have asked for it. So, what else? Optional rules. We're going to be doing a lot of one-pagers for specific settings, and for, I think we're still on the fence about what those are going to cost, those one-pagers. I'm thinking that if they're associated with an actual IP, so like a real anime show or a like Lord of the Rings or Marvel, like I'm not going to fight Disney in court. They are notorious for this. So if I do make a Marvel, One Piece, Lord of the Rings, whatever, one-pager, that's just going to be free. You're going to be able to grab that whenever. But for things like the anime in general, or a specific, a specific genre where the rules don't quite fit right, those are going to cost $1, like one USD, $1 American, to grab off of probably Drive-Thru RPG. It's only going to be one page, and it's only going to be $1. What else? We've got of course, the mini supplements that were mentioned in the Kickstarter. Those are going to be so much fun to work on. That is going to be most of my work going forward in the next several months, is going to be working on those zines, or those mini supplements, those 5 to 10 page settings and adventures. So we've got Bearers, the high fantasy one. We've got Pulse, the space science fantasy space exploration one. And we've got Grim, which is the mouse-sized Victorian cyberpunk one. Those are going to be our 3 settings, but we'll also have 2 adventures. There's going to be the Garlax Chronicle, which I've run several times, and we'll get into the story if you want about how that came to be, because the Garlax Chronicle is actually older than Sagas. There's the Garlax Chronicle, and then there is Aquaborg, and Aquaborg is one that we actually made together on stream. Me and you, the community, worked on this together months and months ago. So you can actually go into my channel and dig out Aquaborg and see how it was created based on one single piece of Rook Zero's art. So those will also be what I will be working on. Those will come out after the core rulebook. We're going to make sure that they are equally high quality, making sure that they are pretty, well laid out, and easy to read and consume. We just haven't actually started the real work on any of them yet. We've played in the settings several times, each of them, but we haven't actually started writing it yet. So that's next on my plate. And the last bullet point I have here is, depending on how successful Sagas ends up being, how many people know about this, and how much dough it is able to make me personally, I might be able to justify making a much larger supplement. Instead of a little 5 to 10 page pamphlet, this is going to be a book written by a guest writer, not me, using the Sagas rules. We had a lot of stretch goals for D'Angelo Murillo and the Space Jammer and Beth the Bard and Jaden King, I talked to all of them about doing, you know, potentially, depending on how much money the Kickstarter makes, could be doing a guest writing, like write their own supplement, and I will be the production behind it for this Sagas game. As you know, we didn't actually hit any of our stretch goals, which is unfortunate, but, you know, expected. So I will be still in contact with them and making sure that they might be still on board if we do get to the point where we can make a much larger supplement. So they're all amazing people, fantastic writers. They helped a bunch with, you know, pushing, especially in the last couple days to get the Kickstarter funded, and they're all wonderful people, most of all. So I wanted to, this is a dream I have, is hiring someone else to do the writing. I don't know. It's exciting to me. I'm thinking ahead in both positive, very, very positive terms. I'm an eternal optimist, but this is just a prediction, and it could be very far off the mark. We'll see what happens with Sagas once all of the promised pieces are out. Yeah, that's all I had. We, like I said, we're going to have a meeting with the whole team tomorrow morning. We're going to hash out more of the details. I don't have the actual funds from the Kickstarter yet. Got to wait 2 weeks after the campaign ends to get those. And once I do, Kickstarter will have taken their cut, and then there's going to be a couple of, you know, declined payments that, you know, they were pledged, but we couldn't charge the card or whatever. So it's not going to be actually the amount that it says we've raised. It's going to be a little bit less than that. So, and since I don't know what that number actually is, I can't start doing the after Kickstarter budgeting and figuring out how much art we can get and how cool we can make the layout and how much extra stuff we can stuff into the, you know, core rulebook. So I will need those funds first before we can start hashing out everything that we will be able to do. Yeah, I need a drink of water because that was a lot of talking. So, that's where we're at right now. Normally, I would have like a guest on or someone else on stream to bounce things off of. But for now, right here, that's where we're at for the update. And now I'm just waiting for some questions from you. You can ask me about how to go. Where's my money? You can ask me how it went, specific pieces of the process, anything you might be curious about. I'm here to field your questions, answer them best I can. I love talking about this because it's been most of my life for the last year. So I'm, like I said, I'm very, very excited about everything that's happening. Yes, I'm also very thankful that I'm going to be able to pay the people that have been working with me. That was the thing I was most worried about. If we didn't fund, I wasn't going to be able to pay the people that had already done extra work, especially the rest of the people on the team, because they've all been like putting in so much effort on this. Advice on graphic design for marketing, providing art that we can use before, the ETA for the final release. So there's going to be a September is the predicted release for the PDF for the backers of the Kickstarter. Then the predicted release for public and print on demand through Drive-Thru-RPG is going to be around the turn of the year, November, December, January-ish for 2024 into 2025. So it'll be about a year before the physical copies are available. Still very excited for all of that. But that's our ETA right now. That might change in the meeting tomorrow, so keep an eye on your email. We will send out an update when we are able to get a date actually nailed down. And we will be able to, keep the updates coming. Probably monthly, maybe a little more often if things come up. But my goal is monthly updates from now until the actual final release of Sagas. If you want extra stuff, we have our little newsletter that's been going on for several months now. This is for, you know, just general updates on what I've been doing on Sagas, where it is at in development. There is also free wallpapers every single week through that Sagas newsletter. So if you're interested, let me know in chat and I can give you the link to go sign up for it. But I'm guessing that pretty much everyone in chat right now is already on that thing. So the cover art is locked down. That was the first thing we locked down, and it stayed locked down. I've been in love with it for a long time. I've put it on all my wallpapers. And I think though having those three characters and that general design that Rook and I came up with is going to be a staple of this going forward. We are still toying with the idea of making an exclusive alternate cover art, because that was one of the secret unknowns behind stretch goal locks. So we will see where that goes. I had talked to an artist about that early on, and I still really, really want to make that happen. It's just going to be harder now without the actual stretch goal funds. So it's still, I don't know if I'm not sure if the alternate cover physical copies are going to be a thing yet. But I will get back to you on that when I can. Will there be iterative beta updates? That we haven't decided on yet. We have done, the way we've been doing it so far is if you are streaming a Sagas game, I will give you the most recent version of the rules that we have to use in your stream. We haven't released any of those out to the public yet. But that is one of the things that we're going to be talking about in tomorrow's meeting, of whether we're going to provide a rules update when those are done before the art and layout final edition PDF is ready. I think we're going to be able to do it. I just don't know for sure yet. I don't want you to get your hopes up too high. But yeah. So anything else? I think I'm caught up with questions. Ping me again in chat if there's something I missed. But I am very, very thankful again to everyone who was able to give what they had to Sagas to make it happen. Yes, version 0.7 is the current public beta. And I think right now in editing, we're on version 0.8.3, if I'm right. Don't hold me to that. But that is, so there have been several updates since that public version. A lot of mistakes were made in that public version. We've reorganized it already to be much easier to read and much easier to find things. We got some hyperlinks put in there already, references to page numbers. We've got a lot going on underneath the hood right now. Are we going to permit tarring and feathering of players using heavy machine gun and finishing blow combo? No tarring and feathering or torture or murder of any kind is allowed. If you can find a way to break Sagas like Juicy Garland did in our Pulse early on, our Pulse playtest, then please do it. lean into those cool and awesome combos that you find. I've already had people in, seen people in our Discord channel looking at just theory crafting their builds. They're looking at infect and mixing infect and, you know, tough skin, rough skin, doing all the ways that you can do damage without actually attacking someone, and then making the tankiest character possible. So just standing there while the enemies are just taking damage around you would be amazing. It's such a cool concept. So there's definitely going to be broken little things that you'll be able to exploit in Sagas. Especially, I assume, through Last Stand, though, as you know, I'm sure, if you use Last Stand, you'll die. Your character will die. If your character goes into their Last Stand, death becomes certain in exchange for this huge power bonus. It's still one of my favorite mechanics of the whole thing. It is just narratively, chef's kiss. I can't get over it. I need to see more one-shots that use it, to be honest. It's especially when the performers in the actual plays are leaning into their characters and are okay with them, you know, dying at the end of the one-shot. It's just been so much fun. I have heard of Slayers and I've heard of Healer RPGs. I haven't actually looked at it yet. Like I said, this is one of the years, I've said in the past, not on this stream, this year is one that I'm going to try out as many TTRPGs as possible, because my list of ones that I've actually played and not just read through is embarrassingly small. So that's one of my goals for this coming year. Having players create those theoretical OP power combos is how you know you've made it as a TTRPG. Yeah, I can see that. I still, like, I've tried to make it as balanced as I can. I feel like it's very much a game dev reacts to speed run of their game, you know, kind of thing. We're like, no, that's not, that bends me the wrong way. That's not what's gonna happen to me. I have seen people try to do this. You saw me there when Juicy managed to do 5 damage twice in a row, which is literally like the highest you can possibly get with Sagas. In theory, you could do more, but it requires so many people to stack combos on top of you. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for everything that is to come, and I hope you are too. There are going to be so many systems that I'm going to be trying. I've already got Triangle Agency. I'm going to be in a Triangle Agency game with Roll D5 in the next couple months or so. Most of the games I'm going to be playing on stream are still going to be Sagas, obviously. You know, I made it. I'm going to play it, you know. Slayers, Corvid Court, and Nova are the highest recommendations. Okay, interesting. That's going to be... that I've heard of one of those. No, I think I've heard of Nova too, but I don't know Corvid Court. But yeah, I'm very excited to try a bunch of new stuff. I think we're gonna start getting off topic here. So as always, if you have a question about, you know, Sagas or its development or literally anything about it, let me know, and I that's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer those questions. But yes, I think my list right now, my embarrassingly small list, is 4th edition D&D, 3.5 D&D, 5th edition D&D. I've played the Beckme box with, I think Fred's still in chat. Yeah, it was with Fred when that happened. We did a Beck Me stream. I also have done, we used Easy D6, which is a game by Scotty DM, and we used it to raise several $1,000s for charity. You can see that over on Atmoseeker's channel. And I think I'm missing some. I've got to be missing some, but like I said, very short list. Another question, when did you decide to do minimum value scaling? So I decided to make this a roll low system very early on in the process. Because I have so few TTRPGs under my belt, I wanted to make them as different as possible from 5th edition D&D. Especially when these thought processes were happening during the OGL crisis. So a lot of it was, I don't want this to be like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And I think we've succeeded pretty well at that. We got rid of D20s. We made it a roll low system. And I really enjoyed figuring out what other modifiers, quote unquote modifiers, we could do, what other variables there were to change the result of a roll. And there's obviously just adding to it, adding static numbers to it. There's changing the size of the die you roll and changing how many dice you roll. Those were the 3 big ones we came up with, and I hadn't seen any that changed the size of the die. So that's the one I went with, and I sat down with my cousin, who has a PhD in math from Berkeley, to figure out like the probability scaling of how this is going to work, and where the, you know, balancing wise, what levels should be able to use what dice for what abilities. It was a very interesting conversation and very, very math heavy in order to make a math light system. So I've done all the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to add anything except ones when you start, you know, actually playing the game. So you don't have to worry about that. But I liked having a roll low system. One reason was because it makes it feel, one, it's different. I wanted it to be different, and that's where it originated. But I stuck with it because I liked the idea of having a roll feel, you know, when you're trying to make the biggest roll, you feel like big, powerful, I'm going to be the largest and best. But when you're doing the lowest roll, and that's the good thing, it feels like you're more dexterous, you're more precise. It's like the difference between using strength for damage and dexterity for damage is when you are trying to hit the smallest target possible, that being a 1. And anything other than that is going to be worse and further away from the bullseye. Just that vibe is something that I really, really enjoyed early on. It also, like, making it a roll under system actually streamlined the mathematics behind balancing the probabilities much easier. So too high is bad was much easier than you need to get it to at least this number. And I won't go into the details. 1, because they're boring. 2, because I don't remember them. Not off the top of my head. Forgot them all. I wrote down the results and forgot how we got there. And it's been working since, so I haven't touched it. But yeah, that's where we started using the... that's when we started using and why we kept using a roll under system. And it's something that a lot of people have found very, very interesting about Sagas, and that's just another reason we kept it. People like it. Slayers is like Monster of the Week with wildly imbalanced combat. Okay. Corvid Court is bad people / birds doing organized crime. I do like me a mob or noir vibe, and that's what that is sounding like. I haven't done too many of them, but it's definitely one of the vibes I like the most for, like, as a storytelling format. Nova is TTRPG in Borderlands and Warframe, looter/shooter games. Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty crunchy. I have played a little bit of Borderlands, not a lot. I love the Borderlands art style, but that, and like the humor in it, but that wasn't enough to keep me playing the games. I actually, since starting development of Sagas, have played very, very few video games. Have not been, with the exception of a little bit of Baldur's Gate, still have not gotten past Act 1. And I've also been replaying, I play Stardew Valley a little bit with my fiance. It's a fun, really, really enjoyable to play with someone if you're playing Stardew Valley. And I just finished a playthrough of Horizon Zero Dawn because I forgot what happened in the game and wanted to play Horizon Forbidden West. So I've just started that one. It's going to take me months to get through, I'm sure, because most of my time, like I said, is devoted to sagas, not video games. And another question from Fred. Do you have any idea the number of art pieces that might be included in the book and what they might be? Tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with the rest of the team to determine exactly that. That's the biggest question I have. And I don't think we'll have an answer, mostly because I don't know exactly what amount of money I will be receiving from the Kickstarter. It's not going to be the number that we raised because Kickstarter is going to take a cut, and there's going to be errors in pledges and collection, so we won't see that money either. And so once I have a final number and those have been reduced from the pledge amount, I will finally be able to start putting together the budget for the rest of the game. Figure out how much art can we afford, essentially. I want to make it a lot. I want to make it at least one art page per single open book page. So on every other page, I want there to be a piece of art. If we can't do that, that's okay. Not every book is going to have that much art in it. And we are also looking at the pieces of art in particular are going to be mostly character art associated with whatever the surrounding text is. We are going to look at, doing more splash pieces across, the title pages or something of like landscapes or cityscape or things like that. But that's definitely a conversation that I have yet to have with my artists, with Kedhup and Rook Zero. Nova isn't crunchy, ironically. What? Really? Fast combat and loot collection. For example, picking up ammo and resources that fuel special attacks from defeated enemies. Okay, I enjoy that. That could be fun. Are there plans for any kind of basic Sagas merch? Right now, no. This is going to be a pay-what-you-want game in the end. This is going to be as accessible as possible, and I am not really making any money from this personally. I'm doing this as a passion project, and any money that Sagas is able to generate, I'm going to be putting back into Sagas or other TTRPG content creation, mostly into Sagas. So if we do generate enough money to get some merch started, absolutely we're going to be slapping that gorgeous cover art and t-shirts and stuff. I would love to have a Sagas mug, right? With the cover art with the 3 characters coming out of the D10, just on the side of a mug. That would be brilliant. I'd love that thing. So I would love to get Sagas merch, but we can't look at that yet. We're focusing on the actual game first. So, yeah. I don't know what I was going to say there, but yeah. Every piece of art in the book can be used on Teespring merchandise for no cost. I see. Well, If there's a no cost bit involved, then this might become a real thing. I'm gonna make a note to look into that. Sagas merch. Because that'd be brilliant. I would love that. I've never actually had merch for any IP that I've owned before. No, not for OKSDM and not for Sagas, but I would love to. Sagas merch. Now we take that post-it note and put it on my to-do list, which has way too many things on it. Let's see. What other updates have I got? There is upcoming streams for Sagas. Like I mentioned earlier, Sagas is going to be... Ooh, okay, I'm writing down these shop names before I move on. So Teespring and Fourth Wall. Gotcha. So the upcoming schedule for streaming. Let's see. This week, I've got a podcast recording. I've got another podcast recording. I've got a private game. Wow, I don't have like anything for you guys this week. And a third podcast episode recording. Well, I'm doing a lot of talking, none of it on stream. Ooh, awesome. Thanks, Fred. I'll make sure to ping the Roundtable Discord server once we get to the point of looking at Teespring. Then next week, I've got a... Wow, actually, Churney, the next time I'm live is going to be for MSVCon, for Mountain Shade Village Convention. Very excited for that. I don't remember exactly what I'm doing, but it's gonna be a good time. I believe I'm doing either a game or a general how to run TTRPGs panel sort of thing, except it's just me. Answering questions about, you tell me a story about your game, I'll give you advice, stuff like that. So it's gonna be another 2 weeks before I'm able to appear on stream. And in that time, I'm going to be nose to the grindstone on editing Sagas, and I think the first one we're gonna be working on for the mini, the first one I'll be working on at least for the zines and the mini supplements is going to be for Grimm. I think that one is the most play-tested one. This is the setting with, it's going to be the setting with little mice as, mice, ants, little critters as the player characters. It is set in a Victorian era old bookshop, where the high society critters live in the walls with indoor lighting and plumbing. There's going to be a lot of steampunk vibes. There's going to be, what else? Oh yeah, so it's high society. There's going to be there's a gang war outside of this bookshop between bees and wasps. And we've played several games in Grimm already, and we are actually working on scheduling yet another because my fiance has been dying to play around in that world. So I think that's the first one that I'm going to be writing. We've already got lots of NPCs, a lot of, political intrigue, a lot of, unique abilities and equipment for that world. It's going to be a lot of fun to put together. Oh, awesome. I didn't know you were doing another a panel as well with MSVCon. That's going to be very interesting. Alchemy RPG tutorial. Okay, I've played around in Alchemy. It is by far the most gorgeous, the most pretty VTT virtual tabletop that I have seen yet. Even like, see the little animations that are happening, like these trees, and the little leaves coming down. These are all animations by one of the guys that does alchemy stuff. They literally pay him for these animations to be able to use in their, overlays. And he also has a website where he makes them for public use, and this is where I got them. That's where I got them from. The Kinomancer, if you're a streamer and want to, add these animated trees and stuff to your overlays. Another question. What do you think would be a good solution for using more modern and futuristic firearms with much longer ranges? That is one thing that I know Sagas doesn't do super well. Long range firearms, I think, are going to be it's going to be like a non-combat thing, long range firearms, because at the point where you're sniping each other with like modern sniper rifles that can hit things dead on from a mile away, that's not combat. That is something else. Where one person is just going to be hiding, and it's not going to be done in rounds. It's going to be more akin to the Create Storm power, or this Create Storm talent, because it's going to be less of a combat thing. Like I said, it's not going to be keeping track of where people are every single round and having turns and everything. While it's just one person sitting there doing one thing over and over again. And it's very different than like a firefight with AK-47s and handguns. So I think for the longer range, more high-tech abilities and stuff like that, like sniping, is going to be an out-of-combat idea, out-of-combat scene. I think it's a good idea to write something down about that, though, so I'm making a note about that. Super long range weapons are for out of quote-unquote combat. Parentheses, optional. No, not optional. GM note. There. Yes, Alchemy is a very, very pretty piece of software. The reason I didn't like get super into it is because they're very new, and so there's still a lot of stuff that Alchemy can't do, especially with Sagas. In order to... Oh, Indestructible Boy! Welcome in! Thank you everyone for joining from Indestructible Boy's stream. We are going over notes from the Kickstarter, fielding questions about it, and the next development, next steps in the development of Sagas. And we're also, meandering among through many, many different topics. Thank you so much, Taryn. Thank you for hopping in. You don't have to stick around if you don't want. I know you just got off a stream, and you stream for hours at minimum. So feel free to get up, go take care of yourself, get some water, something. Thank you for the raid, though. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so we're also meandering through a lot of different conversations about sagas, but mostly answering questions about what is next now that our Kickstarter has funded. What can you expect? Mid-range rifles and engaging targets at a distance. So I think the longest range we have is 5 zones, and zones are going to be, if the players are human-sized, a zone is going to be 15 to 20 feet. There is, I feel like ranges outside of 5 zones don't really, like, that's the point where the map isn't big enough to, like, be able to tell people, like, where someone is. Like, it's big enough where it's been a long time since I've streamed, so I apologize for tripping over my words constantly. I'm gonna take a break from talking and a drink of water. So the reason that ranges feel so short in sagas is because one very common problem that I have on my table, especially with running Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, is rangers and any ranged fighter is going to get as far away from combat as they possibly can in order to be able to hit things. So they will run away literally off the map. And this has happened several times. They will run, they're 30 feet and then shoot, and then 30 feet more and then shoot again. And before 2 rounds are over, they're off of where they should be. And I want combat to be more close quarters, more able to track where people are and what they're doing. So that is why the ranges are shorter and more concise. I have yet to actually try doing a super long range, quote unquote, combat. But if I were to do it, like I said earlier, I would be doing it in scene instead of in combat. There would be no initiative rolls. There'd just be attack checks made. And you would check again to see if you can find where your target went, because after the first shot, they're gonna fucking hide. So yes, combat, it's mostly to make combat easier to run and track. Especially since, like, a lot of sagas is done through theater of the mind. So, like, instead of tracking exactly how far away something is, they're just going to be far away. They're not going to put a number on it. But you're going to be able to, attack things while you are not at risk of being hit yourself. Run a lot of combat encounters with sniper rifles involved. One of your players on your campaign has his chosen runic enhanced weapon on his character. Okay, so that's something that can come up in combat, at least in your experience. Probably doesn't work as well with the stuff that is theater of the mind. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that gets treated. I don't actually have, even after running like 40 plus, maybe 50 by now, games of sagas, I have not actually had, super long range combat happen yet. Gives me an idea for something to run to test it out, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, welcome in, Gravity Fail. Do you think people accurately use long-range inhibitors in 5e? Fog, cover, movement. People in general might do this. They might be able to use them accurately and to an effect at their table. What I do mostly is make almost all of the combats indoor. So you can't shoot someone from, 3 or 4 rooms away because there's walls in the way. So essentially, I guess that could be that would be considered cover. But yeah, not being able to see something that you're shooting at is very important. I will always remember it was actually my dad playing this ranger, and he is very, very tactical thinker, and he will do the optimal thing as often as possible while staying in character, which I really enjoy, but boy, but does it get annoying sometimes. So they were level 12 or 13 or something, and they were taking on a dire troll, the toughest troll in the official rulebooks. And that thing does a ton of damage, and he was getting as far away from this thing as possible. And so I said, okay, they're in a cave. What if I just, like, you know, drop a Dark Mantle on him, which is a CR 1/2 creature that wraps around your head and blinds and suffocates you. And that worked. It blinded him, suffocated him, and strength was his dump stat, so he could not get the Dark Mantle off of his head, and no one else had time to help him because they were worried about the troll. So I think the Dark Mantle might have been a little bit too effective. It's a very, very interesting balance between making something effective at, you know, nerfing the really good strategy that one of your players has come up with, but only uses that strategy. It's a balance between nerfing that and also keeping it fun for that player. Because at that point, he was just, you know, using strength checks to try to get the thing off of his head, and failed and failed and failed, and then combat was over. And that wasn't fun. So I'm still working on figuring out how to, you know, nerf kiters and trying out different things. Right now, he's actually playing another ranger in a different home campaign that I'm running. So I think I'll have ample opportunity to figure out how to make sure that he can't just kite every single monster that I throw at them. Agreed. No one runs Dark Vision correctly in 5e. It's such a hassle to do it. And I think just keeping track of what you can and can't see is just one too many things to keep track of. I'm a big fan of delegating other things like tracking monster health and initiative to players, but there are some things that it would be the Dungeon Master's responsibility to keep track of. And Dark Vision, like what people can and can't see, is one of them. And it's so annoying to keep track of. I don't even worry about it. Like, yes, I have Dark Vision. Okay, yes, you have Dark Vision, but you're still gonna have disadvantage because it's actual pitch darkness and you can't see anything beyond 60 feet. So that means it's just darkness beyond that. So it's a very unique and tough mechanic to get right. Enemies in D&D do not have enough long-ranged options. It can be a system design issue. I think there are still ways around it. It just requires creative thinking from the Dungeon Master's point of view. At what point do you have to tell a player that their version of combat is better for a different game? One person wants to be a sniper and everyone else is a boxer. That's tough. That's a tough call to make. It really depends on the player's individual preferences and what they enjoy about the combat. If the sniper is a sniper because that's mechanically more efficient, then I would suggest switching games, because that one person should be okay. A type of person, I think, that is going to be, you know, a munchkin, min-maxer, trying to do the optimal choice every single time, and that's why they chose being a sniper, is going to not have too much issue learning the rules for a new system. It's getting the rest of the party to switch that's going to be the difficult piece of that. If they're a sniper, just... Oh, we're going to switch questions. Thank you for joining Tiny Tactician. Yes, we are actually here to talk about Sagas. Got a little bit sidetracked. And yes, we did just fund, and yes, it was a lot of work. And the work is not over, but now it gets to go back to the fun stuff. I, personally found out through this Kickstarter that I don't like marketing. I don't like it, and I'm bad at it. I am very, very thankful that we were able to get enough people interested in Sagas to fund, but just barely. So if I'm going to do more marketing in the future, definitely like paying someone else to do it. I do not want to, like, social media can be very, very draining. And I still don't have the right tactics and tools to be able to do it effectively. So I'm very excited to get back into the fun side of work, back into the game design. Earlier today, I made the first one-page actual IP piece of supplement for Sagas. I made a single-page optional rules for running Sagas in a Jujutsu Kaisen universe, the currently popular anime, Jujutsu Kaisen. We are going to be running a Jujutsu Kaisen game in a couple weeks over on Just the Humans channel, so I made optional rules that we are going to be using for it. You know, more specific to that universe, changing up a little bit how level up works, giving more options for talents, stuff like that. Very excited for it, and once we use it, it's going to be available for free. I can't sell actual IP stuff like that, so I'm just gonna make it available for other people to use. I see that chat here is very much agreeing with me on the sentiment that marketing sucks. It's so hard. It's not what we want to do. Our stuff is cool. Why can't people just understand that it's cool and, like, play it? God. It is definitely a hurdle that a lot of people, myself included, have much difficulty trying to get over. But now that it's over, I will be diving into writing the mini supplements that will be coming out after Sagas, and we will be editing the last little bits of the core rulebook before we send it over to our layout designer and artist to start putting stuff together for it. You can fit so many genres in this bad boy. I think our record right now for most genres hit in one single one-shot is 10. It was on Roll D5's channel, and as part of combat, the monster that they were fighting that I made unique for that one-shot, every single round of combat, the players got to roll on the world-building table, and we made the new world right there and then for that combat. We did we went from we started in a normal world, just America, capitalism. This guy, one of the player characters, was a guy that hates his job and just wanted to go camping, so we went camping. Another player character was just a normal bear, literally just a normal bear. Could not talk, could not communicate, took dumps everywhere. And they got sucked into a portal, and there was another world that another character came from that was humans versus AI robots in a apocalyptic war. Then we moved over to a high-tech mythology one. So it was like, you know, classic Roman Greek architecture and above the clouds like Mount Olympus, but there was also like a hologram panel that you could enter data into and read. Then we switched over to an academia biopunk, and from there we switched to a hospital drama, and immediately from the hospital drama we switched to a slasher steampunk horror. And then from there, we went to a Denny's, just a Denny's, like the diner, like the chain restaurant, just a Denny's. And then we went to you get the idea. We went to so many wildly different things. I'm a little behind on chat. You were reading through and saw how that it's rules light but tactical with the hex grid. How does that work? So the hex grid is optional. Most Sagas games end up being run theater of the mind. The hex grids are zones. So you can use hex grids. You can just say vaguely this area is a zone, but each zone is going to be, if you're human sized, it would be 15 to 20 feet across. And that's how ranges are measured. And you can just move one zone for each movement, instead of like having to count 30 feet worth of squares like you do in D&D. So you can get tactical with it. There are other systems that do tactical better, obviously. There are other systems that do most of this stuff better, but Sagas does everything pretty well. And that was our goal, and I think we hit it. I think we hit it. You're the judge, but I, as the creator of Sagas, think we managed to check all the boxes of making sure it is a setting and genre agnostic system. You're trying to make something similar and it's hard to balance turn-to-turn combat and rules light. Yes, so the balance is not going to be quite there. After making the actual balance system of calculating how difficult an encounter is going to be in Sagas, I have a newfound level of respect for the people that did that for D&D. I used to hate how broken that system is. Like, calculating how difficult an encounter is in D&D using the rules in the book is extremely complicated and doesn't work. And it's just been, there's a lot of math that goes into it that I didn't respect at the time. I literally had to get on the phone or get on a video call with my cousin who has a PhD in mathematics from Berkeley University, or College of Berkeley. I don't remember what it is. The famous Berkeley school. And he was able to send through a ton of data, a ton of permutations, assuming a lot of stuff. And he's like, you can't actually do this. Like, this is almost an impossible task. And I was starting to agree with him the more and more I looked at it. So I have a newfound respect for game designers who try to make a tool for people that are running that game to be able to balance their game. It's very, very difficult. I like to think of it as one particular implementation of zones. Actually, now that you think of it, abstracting zones to be larger areas might solve the range issue of firearms. That is where we were going with it. So zones are what you say they are. The suggestion is that 5 player character sized things can fit in one zone comfortably. And that's what the areas and capacity of the zones and everything like that was based around. I really, really like the horde mechanics that came from this, because when a zone is over capacity, nothing in that zone can attack unless it's a large creature or a horde. And so if you get overwhelmed by a horde of zombies, you can't get out of that zone. You have to make a movement check to leave that zone. And while you're in there, you can't attack. So hordes of zombies are actually very, very dangerous. Like, they should be. So I think that's one happy thing that happened. That was an accident that we were playing, and like, it's really, really difficult to fight in this cramped space because you can't be in the same zone and attack. It's against the rules. And the horde rules were very easy to make from that idea. Yes, the famous Berkeley School. I don't know what its actual full name is. I've never heard it called anything other than Berkeley. Yes, that's what we were going for. Simple yet satisfying rules that still make you feel like your character is doing what they're designed to do. whether that be sharpshooter or something else. Very much associated. We very much tried to make this a fun game. Like, that's the point. Who's gonna play a game that's not fun? That's the point of games, right? So I think we nailed that, especially for those that like describing things. There is so much room for players and game masters to slap their own, descriptions onto things, describing what they do to attack the enemy, or describing the new scene that unfolds before them. One of my favorites is when there's a multiversal jumping game that we're doing. I like to have the players re-describe their characters as they would appear in this new universe. So you've got your fire mage, right? This is my favorite example that I overuse way too much. But you've got your classic fire wizard, right? He wields great power through these flames, but he gets transported to a cyberpunk setting, right? He's not going to be doing magic per se in this setting. So why are you going to flavor it? Is he going to have, is he going to be able to open his jaw and there's a flamethrower built into his neck that he just spits, that he uses to attack? Are the flamethrowers built into his arms? Is he just really, really good with explosives? There's so many ways to reflavor the same character, even though in this new world, you're still using the exact same mechanics. It's the same rules. They're just vaguely worded enough that you can put whatever flavor you want on them. So you can slot them into any genre and any setting. Any setting and any genre. The acronym. Have you thought about making a talent that lets you navigate hordes? I have not. That is something very, very specific and might show up should we do a zombie apocalypse, mini supplement. That would be a perfect thing to have in there, especially if you're you're playing a child in a zombie apocalypse and a horde overwhelms you. Are you going to be able to run through their legs? Will that work? Yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be so cool to have a child appear out of the zombies and then continue screaming and fleeing. But yeah, I think that's a great idea for a talent. Especially if you're small enough to be able to make those attacks and move without being hindered too much. Or just going without notice among that horde itself. And remember, hordes can do more than zombies. That's just the classic one that my mind continues to return to. So that's where we're thinking for a possible zombie apocalypse one, because there have been Sagas games run in zombie apocalypses. We've run a couple in alpha testing. There was a stream that was sponsored by HelloFresh, and it was called HelloFresh, and they were playing Sagas on Wanderer's Haven was the channel, and the idea was that they were delivering food during a zombie apocalypse or after a zombie apocalypse, and the puns were just amazing. I saw Hello Flesh and immediately I understood what was happening. It was so good. Yes. It could give large-scale battles in medieval fantasy or a lot of other ideas, even modern, where large-scale battles took place. You could do this. It could work. My suggestion, though, if you're going for combat in the middle of a giant battle, would be to have the players make checks instead of attack individual enemies and keep track of enemy health. If they're in a battle and participating in it, that's one thing. And that, I think, can get kind of boring as it turns to stand and swing very quickly. But if you're, trying to get from one side of a battlefield to another, it is much better to treat the two warring sides as, oh, no worries, Alex. You're totally fine. You know that. But I think if you're getting from one side of a battlefield to another, treating the two warring sides as more of an obstacle than as individual enemies would be much easier to track. It would be narratively, it would make more sense as you were describing things. And a third great point that I was about to make and forgot. All right, let's see. Are there any other questions about Sagas? Either its development, where it's going, comments about the rules themselves, any other ideas or things you might have to bring to this? Because I think we're getting close to time to wrap it up. We've been on for a little over an hour now. From Alex, you think it would be more about movement through the battlefield to achieve objectives. Use checks at the objective, but to your point, lots of different ways to skin the same cat in any TTRPG. Yes. And that is exactly what Sagas is designed to let you do. Not skin cats specifically, but reskin and reflavor things however you want to do them. Both narratively and mechanically. There's so many different ways to handle different situations using different sets of rules. Even just within Sagas, like you don't necessarily have to make combat everything. If you're shooting at someone, that could be just you're shooting at someone. It doesn't have to be a turn-based whole thing, you know? So Rain did this by running it like combat between individual characters, but had it so every time you got hit, an NPC ally died. I remember them talking about this. Yes. So every single time anything takes damage, an ally dies. That is, I really, really enjoy that. I'm not gonna lie. Just to show how dangerous a battle is, where two sides want nothing more and is their only goal to kill each other. So I really like that idea, and I'm glad to hear that it went well when he put it into practice. Have you thought about a fear or sanity mechanic for less combat-oriented horror genres? So, I'm so glad you asked. This is going to be something that I am going to be putting in the optional horror rules that got unlocked before the Kickstarter started. So we are going to have a 1, maybe 2-page little thing that's going to be freely available for both those that back the Kickstarter and those that weren't able to back it in time or weren't able to back it for financial reasons or whatever. But yes, there's going to be optional horror rules, and fear and sanity is going to be heavily featured in those. I personally really, really enjoy running horror games for several reasons. One, it is from a storytelling perspective, it's very easy to keep track of where the narrative is. I really like playing around with that much tension in a scene, and whether to let it down slowly or break it or fake it out and then break it. I also really enjoy cosmic horror specifically because you can cheat as the GM. Because in cosmic horror, it is the fear of the unknown. So by not describing something, it is scarier than you could possibly make it by describing it. So I ran a game of Sagas that was cosmic horror for Pantsless Tables in what was it? It was like this giant charity thing that Steve from Pantsless Tables put together. And one of the things I did in it is there was this object, right? This object that was brought to, this convention, sort of like the serial convention in Sandman, if you've read or seen that show. Except it was cosmic horror. And so they brought this object to the stage, and it made everybody just, calm down and be quiet. Everybody was excited about this object. Nobody really knew what it was or could describe it. And even when it was revealed, I didn't describe the object itself. I only described its effect on the surrounding audience. And it was really, really fun to watch the characters or the players get freaked out by this thing that they had no idea what it was. They didn't even know how big it was. They just knew that they needed it out of here. And it was really, really, really fun to just play around with that kind of tension. And that's why I like cosmic horror. Cthulhu Dark. That is another game that I have not played on the infinitely long list of games that I want to play. They make it so when the players feel scared or uncomfortable, or when their characters would, they can choose to lower their sanity. It's meant to make you get in character and take part in the character's descent. Yes, I do like that. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to have to do a bit of research on figuring out what is the best way to make sanity work. And make it as immersive as possible through the game's mechanics. Because that's one thing that I really, really tried a lot to do in Sagas, is to make the story that you're telling and the mechanics of the actual game be as close together as possible. And so Sagas is going to have those horror rules, and I'm going to have to do my due diligence and make sure that it's the best option for storytelling, because that's what I really enjoy doing. And to the surprise of no one, I designed Sagas to be the perfect game for me to run personally. I hope that's not surprising, but I did put what I wanted personally into Sagas, and turns out a lot of people are of the same mind as I am when it comes to running games. So that was glad that worked out. Rules and Rulings is back. Welcome. So it's not because you are an outer dimensional Gribbly. Correct. I am not an outer dimensional Gribbly. I am human, and I am doing game design as all humans do. Do you humans have any other questions? Horror could dump health and effort into one pool, risk and reward. I like that. I really enjoy that. I have several ideas for horror, but this one I really enjoy this one. And it's not necessarily health, because in horror games you take like one hit, and if you take a second, you're dead. That's just how it works. But doing things reducing your health, I like that. I really like that. Or we could make it so that if you're in a horror game, you cannot spend any of your level ups increasing health. For a horror game, all player characters have only 2 health, and they cannot have more than that. That would be interesting. That would be wild. Oh man. All right. I think I've had enough. My brain is starting to go, and I've got a lot of other stuff that I need to get to today. So I just want to say thank you all for joining, those that were able to. I appreciate all the interaction that we've had through chat. This has been a lot of fun. There will be an update. Like I said, I have a meeting with the team tomorrow. So this coming week, there will be a big post-funding update, letting you know what you can expect from the next steps in the Saga's development. Thank you again for those of you that were able to back the Kickstarter. This could not have happened without you, and especially those of you that were able to push it to other people that backed the Kickstarter. That is truly amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the congratulations. No, I'm not gonna go watch the Super Bowl. I have chores to do. Those of you that are watching the Super Bowl, though, please enjoy. Let me know who wins, I guess. But most importantly, I want all of you to remember that everything is going to be okay. Thanks for joining, everybody.